Hey everyone, I'm going to talk today about how to change the world. One thing I realized is that I share a lot of things, I talk a lot, and I haven't yet perhaps taken the time to just clearly state what's the specific plan of how to make a different, how to make this world better for everybody. I mean, I'm sure those of you who have seen a lot of my stuff and a lot of things that I share, maybe you could piece it together, but I'm just going to make this video to lay it out very clearly as possible. And if things are still not clear, you can always place comments and I can respond or make other videos. So that's the starting point of this video, is to really lay it all out specifically so there's no guessing involved. Because there's a lot of people in this world who recognize that there's problems in this world. And I think perhaps the people who recognize it the most are parents, because we have children and we see like how limited we are as parents in being able to really give our kids what we know they really need. You know, like today, for example, I was planning on going upstairs to start doing some work on my computer, and Max wanted to go swimming. And for a moment, I told him, well, I'm not going to go swimming with you right now. There's some things I need to do today. And then I have a meeting later, and then I'm going to be gone from probably about 1:30 until 9:30 tonight. So he'll already be in bed. And Katie said to him, yeah, I can swim with you later, Max, but for now I'm doing something with Seneca, and then we can go swimming later. And I looked at the point and I was like, well, what am I teaching him in that moment? That he's not valuable, that I can't spend a few minutes with him because he just wanted to go swimming. And I know for a fact that if I go jump in the pool with him for 20, 30 minutes, that's all he really wants. He doesn't need me to be in there for 5 hours. He just wants me to be in there a little bit and play with him a little bit. And so what I did was I just removed the resistance within me. And I thought, you know, if I take 30 minutes to go swim with Max, is that really going to change what I'm able to do? Because I know I can get what I need to get done within an hour, or like an hour and a half or something. And so I just dropped the resistance and I went and jumped in the pool, and then he got in the pool and we played around for a while. He likes me to blow up balloons with water in the jets from the jets in the pool, and then tie them off, and he likes to throw them and swim after them and try to, you know, get them and bring them to me and stuff like that. And we played for a little bit. I would guess probably 20 or 30 minutes. And then after that, you know, I said, okay, Max, I'm going to get out of the pool and I'm going to go do some work. And so I helped him dry off, and then he went inside and it was like, fine. That was all he wanted. And so when I look at that, of how in that moment I was able to drop the resistance and really just be there with him and play with him and have some fun and give him, you know, oh, another thing I forgot to mention is, because I was making some coffee, I got up at like 6:30 or probably closer to 7 this morning. And I spent a lot of time like cleaning the kitchen and doing the dishes. And then when Max woke up, probably like 45 minutes later or something, then I made him breakfast and I was doing that. And so by the time Katie came down with Seneca, I hadn't really done anything. And, you know, normally I would use that time just to do work on the computer, but I instead used it to clean up some stuff in the house. And then obviously when Max comes down, I'm focused on him. And so anyways, Katie was up by that point and she was sitting outside. We have like this patio furniture, like this really cool, like wooden furniture with like cushions on it. And she was sitting there, and then Max was he had his floaty on, but he wasn't in the pool yet. And I like opened the window. I think it's called like a bay window. It's like a big window. And I was kind of sticking my head out. And Max was over by the pool. He came over and he said, hey, Dad, I need your attention by the pool for a moment, right? And I said, really, what do you need? And he's like, you know, I want you to swim. So that was the part I forgot to mention. In other words, he was directly telling me what he wanted, right? And so that was the point where I made the decision, like, okay, I could just tell him, you know, no, I have more important things to do, or I can spend some time with you. And even if I don't get those things done, I'll stay up, you know, when I go home tonight at like 9:30, I'll do those things then if I have to, even if I have to stay up a little bit later. But what I realize is that most people don't have that sort of freedom. They don't have the freedom in terms of time, because they either don't make enough money, or the way that they make money, like most parents, is they have to go and do something from this time to this time. They don't have the same flexibility that I have, that I've created in my life towards how I have, set things up for myself. And I realized that. So I'm not sitting here I'm not going to sit here and tell people like, no, you need to spend more time with your kids, because I realize, not that you shouldn't, and you should as an individual find a way to structure things differently. But I'm saying as a whole, on average, I realize that that's not practically possible for most people. And it's mostly not possible because of what's going on in here for the person, for the parent. They're not really able to stop, slow down, or move that resistance like I did. Not because they're not capable, but because they haven't yet developed the awareness that they're able to do it yet, and removed the layers of resistance to being able to do something like that. And also, they haven't structured their life in a way where they can make money and have that flexibility of time to be able to spend time with their kids as much as the kids need. And what I've realized is that this is not because the parent themselves doesn't care. It's because the system we live in is essentially demanding that. Oh, I'm getting a call from Katie. Hey, Katie, what's up? Oh, can we talk about it later? Yeah, okay, bye. Okay. She was just asking me a question that I don't have time to go into right now. So I'm just going to text her back. Okay. Um, just realizing that I put the phone right up to my headphones. Well, whatever. Okay. So, sorry for the little delay there. See, things come up, right? Things come up that you weren't planning. The point I was trying to get at was just that I realized that people are not able to just magically change their entire life. Like, that's not how reality works. Reality is not like you just create your own life magically out of thin air. We live in a system where everything's interconnected. So a lot of parents are in positions. I mean, you have, for example, single parents, like a single mom or a single dad who's like raising their kids and so forth. So they're not really able to um, just magically like, oh, I'm just going to spend all the time my kids need, because if they don't go to work, they don't survive. But this is getting to the point of why I made this video, why I'm making this video, because unless those of us who see the potential within us to stand up and do something with our lives, not something, do the best possible thing with our lives, which I will explain. Unless we do that, the people who are in positions, like, let's just say like a single mom who's like, living paycheck to paycheck and has like 3 or 4 kids and just can't possibly just suddenly magically change everything in her life, because she also has a low education level, let's say. Those people are not going to be able to just change their lives. If the system were different that runs this world, and yes, there is a system that runs this world. It doesn't mean it's just one thing that runs everything. It's just that every system, every economic system, every country, political system, etc., everything is interconnected, and it's all running from the starting point of the purpose of being alive is to survive and make money. So in other words, the system itself, the money system itself, its purpose that's like built into it by like design is that its purpose is to continuously generate more money. And the only way it can do that is by getting people to work in the system at different levels, CEOs all the way down to janitors to homeless people. And then you have the entrepreneurs, and you have venture capitalists, and you have nonprofit organizations. You have all these different things, but the purpose of it is to keep the system generating money and generating objects and possessions and physical wealth based on that. And we're taking the earth itself and turning it into stuff so that we can have money be generated and created. And we do the same thing within ourselves, whether we realize it or not. We do the same thing within ourselves by utilizing relationships. And the perfect example of this is when you start dating somebody. Okay, you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, where you will place them in your world in a way where you can get experience for yourself, like energy for yourself. That's what the feeling of love is. It's like this uplifting, great, amazing feeling. And there's also negative aspects to it as well. But it's like you're using that relationship in order to generate a feeling for yourself. And we do this with lots of other relationships too. It's just the one that I think most people can relate to. So by doing that, by constantly judging and assessing all of our relationships based on how we feel and the kind of feeling we can get within that, it's like we don't really look at what else is going on in the world, and we don't consider the fact that the system that's running our world economically and so forth and politically is doing the same thing, just at a higher level, like in a different context. So the system is like just imagine the system as a person. It's like, all I want is more money for myself, which is energy. So like the money system is like the most important thing is more money. So whatever I can do, whether it's a war, whether it's, like this company destroying that company to get more market share, whatever it is, it's going to do that. It's going to try to create that situation. So it's just like at an individual level, whatever I need to say to this person to continue to get those feelings coming, or whatever I need to manipulate or do within my individual life to keep that energy experience within me going, which we call happiness, that's the pursuit of happiness, then I'll do it. And that's where pretty much everyone's operating from that. And that's what every system in the world is. Every corporation, everything is operating from at a higher level in terms of money and the money system. So that's why, for example, somebody would say, well, I don't have a responsibility to other people who don't have enough money. It's their responsibility. It's their choice. They can educate themselves and they can create their own reality and all this stuff. But it's like, if you were actually in their shoes, you would see how difficult it actually is. Because you can only see things, you're only seeing things from your vantage point, from your perspective, from your viewpoint. And so you'll apply that to other people, like, well, they just need to create their own reality. But you don't realize, there's certain things that you've experienced and done that have allowed you to be in the position you're in. And it's interesting because there's very few actual real successful people who actually argue that everybody else should just pull themselves up and recreate themselves. Like, there's a few, but I'm saying generally speaking, they realize the reality of how the system works because they're actually doing it. It's usually people who aren't really that successful who say these things. And it's like, if I just pretend like the system that's how it works, then magically my life will improve and I'll become I'll get in the top 1% and become mega millionaire, all that stuff. But that's not how it works. That's not how the elite actually think. Now, there are many elite who are born into those systems, who are born into those families and so forth, or get into those positions. And then they think, well, I made it to this point, but no one else is really making it to that point. So what's the difference? Well, I must have been destined for this. This must be God's gift to me. Like they'll have all kinds of rationalizations for it. So they also won't look at it from the perspective of reality. So what I'm saying is they don't expect everyone else to do what they did actually, because they think that it's just inherent to who they are or some gift from God or something that they're in that situation. So no one in this world is actually looking at, okay, let me look at this situation and see how can I make a difference within it? How can I actually change it so that everybody has what they need? Because if everybody had what they need, like, there would be no fear. Where does fear come from? All fear is fear of loss. It's fear of losing something, or it's fear of not getting something. Like when you're in a relationship and, like your girlfriend's like looking at your phone, like who you've been texting and all that stuff. Like, she's afraid of losing that relationship. She's afraid of losing you as her boyfriend or whatever. And I don't know if you've ever had this, I'm sure you've had this experience where it's like you're having a really great day, or just like everything's going great. But then that thought comes up in your mind of like, man, it's such a great day. I really need to really experiencing and hold on to it because, I may not get a day like this for a while again, or I may not, tomorrow may feel bad, or even like in an hour, something could change and I'm not going to feel good. So like even within the height of feeling really good, there's always that little creeping fear, that creeping dread of like, maybe it's not going to last. And then you might think, oh, it's because I had that thought that it didn't last. No, it's because it can't last. Because that positive feeling you're having is based on energy. It's based on some experience you've created. And the way you've created that experience is by putting all these little pieces in place that was only possible due to you having money at some level. And think about all the things that you want to do and experience beyond where you're at right now. They're all stuff that requires money. And people say, like, I see this bullshit. I just saw some bullshit from Zig Ziglar. I mean, the guy's fucking dead. So he's posting all this stuff. I don't know how he's doing it. He must have some like celestial fucking Facebook account where it's like he can come through and some channel or something and post stuff. But I don't know how he's doing it. But he was just making this post today about it was this picture of these little Asian kids with like dirt all over their faces, you know, and like little like dirty tank tops. And it said something like, what did it say? It said, happiness is free. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of like, happiness is free. So like, don't wait to be happy or something, or don't think that, oh, it was something to the effect of like, don't think that you have to be rich to be happy. Okay. Which is ironic because wasn't Zig Ziglar trying to teach everybody how to become rich? And wasn't he rich? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, so I don't know. Maybe he didn't actually ever say that. Maybe like someone else is in control of the account. I don't know. Maybe it's actually Zig Ziglar. I don't know. But my point is this total bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you don't have to be rich to be happy. You know who would tell you something like that? Somebody who's rich who doesn't want competition. Does that mean being rich will make you happy? No. But what I'm saying is all the things that people think are important, you can only have them in the context of money. Like, just think about it for a moment, okay? You could say, no, I can be happy without money. Put it to the test. Give away all your money. Stop working. Don't use any money ever again for the rest of your life. Don't go and buy a bunch of fucking tents and shovels and bottled water and shit, and then go and buy a bunch of land and then go live on a fucking farm by yourself and like, you know, build your, like, and buy a bunch of seeds and stuff and then be like, look, I don't need money anymore. I'm sustaining myself out in the wilderness apart from the system. Like, how did you get all that stuff in the first place? Like, you literally, and I mean, the knowledge that you have of how to go, like, you know, build some kind of structure, you didn't come up with that yourself. You came up with that because of generations of other people utilizing money to fuel and fund ideas being created and so forth. So all the information you have and knowledge of even how to go live off the grid and so forth, you only had that because you had money at some point. Other people were participating in money and you got this knowledge somehow. So to say that you don't need money is such fucking bullshit. Now, there is a seed of truth within the point, which is that having money alone isn't going to make you happy. It's true. You can't be happy without money, but you're not going to be happy even if you have it. It's like a paradox, but it's not really, because the reality is, even if you have all the fucking money in the world and you're super mega rich, are you really truly going to be happy if there's other people in this world who are suffering? If like you're the richest person in the world and no one else has money, don't you think they're all going to be like coming at the gates, like trying to get what you have? I mean, that's just like a fear point. I understand, but at the very least, you would have that concern. I don't know how you could truly be happy knowing everybody else is suffering, but I mean, you know, when you're mega rich, you can create a lot of stuff around you to kind of insulate yourself from the suffering of other people. Of course, you don't even consider the suffering that you're putting your own body through by participating in thoughts and feelings and so forth. You're not even aware of that because that energy of thoughts and feelings and stuff is coming from your physical body. That's a whole nother discussion. So what does it mean to change the world then within the context of all these points? Doing acts of kindness, giving to charities, things like that, that's not going to work. And anybody who tries to use like Jesus, give as you want to receive, as a justification for, well, I give to people, so I'm good. It's actually an excuse, because number one, you weren't there when Jesus was here, so you didn't really hear like what he was saying. Like he didn't just say, give as you want to receive. Okay, gotta go. Bye. See you later, guys. Like, that's not what happened. He was sitting down probably for several hours with his friends, talking and giving like a whole presentation of information, like a whole bunch of shit. So the little bits and pieces you hear from Jesus was put together in the dark ages. They created the Bible as you know it now as a control mechanism to keep the system intact. How long has the fucking Bible been around and the world has not changed fundamentally? There's still poverty and suffering. And now you even have the Pope saying, like, basically like, oh, it's okay if you're not Christian, you can be Muslim. Well, is that what Jesus was saying? Like, doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm not saying you need to become Christian. I'm just saying, if the message is important, then shouldn't everybody agree on it? And then that would actually make the world better. So that whole religion thing isn't making any sense, isn't changing the world, it's doing nothing. Okay, it's only serving to keep people basically just giving money to the church. It's all based on money. Okay, so what does that mean to change the world then? We have to change the system that runs this world, which says, in order to have your basics for survival, you need to have money. Okay, and within that, not everyone gets money equally. Not everyone has the same opportunity. And I know there's people who will have this thought of like, yeah, everyone has the same opportunities. No, you don't, because you don't know the same thing as another person. Education has not been equalized. And the funny thing is, you'll think, well, I know the secrets to success and wealth. All right, then become a billionaire. Well, I don't really care about money. See, you're a fucking liar. Then drop all your money. Give away all of your money right now and just go walk out and just take all your clothes off and just walk out into the wilderness. Like, stop lying to yourself, okay? The elite know more things. They don't know secrets. They know more stuff. They understand how things work. Like, they understand how to run a business. They understand how to get other people to do stuff. They understand how to sell. They understand how to manipulate. They understand how to communicate. They understand how to do marketing. They understand how to place images on billboards that impulse people's sexual desires so that they'll associate that product with the energy that's being generated in the moment of that sexual excitation. And then now that product's image is embedded in the person's flesh as a memory. So next time that person's in the store and that object is, or that brand symbol is present, it activates that energy and the person finds themselves buying it without realizing why. They understand things like that. The elite know more. They are better educated. And they are better educated because they send their kids to private schools. They send their kids to the private schools you can't even get into, even if you had the money, because they don't want you there. They just want their people there. So to act like everyone has the same opportunities is a total fucking lie. It's bullshit. Okay, and it's just another form of excuse to not make a difference in this world. Because if you say, okay, everyone has the same opportunities, then that means you don't have to do anything. It means you don't have to change anything because everything's fine. So in other words, when someone says, here's how you can change things, and any form of excuse comes up of like, well, they're fine the way they are. No, it's not simple as changing you. You missed the whole fucking point. You don't know the answer. Changing you has come to mean just feel better about things. That's what it has come to mean. Changing you, if it's going to make a difference in this world, has to mean removing every single fucking feeling, thought, and emotion so that you can do what needs to be done, even if it doesn't feel good. So that you can stand up in this world, and so you can actually change the system that runs this world. Because unless the system that runs this world changes and everybody has what they need as a guaranteed point, then there is still always going to be fear. And that is the real reason why love exists and why everyone says love is the answer. It is not the answer. Love is not going to change anything. Because if you really loved everybody equally, if you really cared, really, you would stand up in this world and you would get into politics and you would say that we need to have a system that takes care of everybody equally, which doesn't mean suppressing everybody. It doesn't mean, okay, then you have to do this job and you have to do that job. It's not about a system dictating to everybody what they need to do. It's simply recognizing that we make money out of thin air. It doesn't exist. And if we wanted to, we could place the importance of money, the purpose of money on, let's make sure everybody has what they need. So there's no reason ever to fear again. And so if you have money right now and you're just like, my life is great, everything's fine with me, but then you're not pushing yourself to expand beyond that, you are dishonest and you are benefiting off of the system that is causing massive suffering for many other people on a global scale. And if you think that there's not a consequence for that when you die, you are sadly mistaken. And if you have any sort of justification or excuse, like I have what I have because of the blessings of God or anything like that, you are fucked. And I'm trying to get through to you. You are fucked if you think that, because that is not what is going to happen when you die. You are going to have to pay for not doing anything and benefiting from this system. And when I say pay, I mean you're going to lose your life because you have been given something as a gift from this earth, from this reality that was freely given to you. You did not earn it. You did not deserve it. It was just given to you. And now you have an opportunity to take that life and say, you know what? This is not my life. This is our life. This is our reality. We have to stand up in this world and do what's best. Not everyone that is hearing what I'm saying is gonna be able to do something about it. Now, don't allow that to be an excuse. The reason why I say that is because some people within where they're at in their lives, the best they can do is just try to survive because they're in a position in this system. And these are the people that require people like us to stand up. Because if we don't stand up and change the system, they're never gonna be able to change their situation. We have to be the ones to stand up. And if you only take changing yourself from the perspective of I'm just feeling better and better and better and great about my life, yeah, you can do that. That is what's so fucked about this world. It is possible to just focus on yourself, and guess what? You will feel better if you're in a position where you have money and so forth. It is possible to do that, but that doesn't mean that it's the best thing to do. So that would be a reflection of you and your starting point as to whether you think it's acceptable to simply sit and have a great life with you and your family, but not give a total fuck about anybody else. And you can come up with all kinds of excuses as to why what you're doing helps the world and this and that. But the next question is, how do you actually measure that change? How do you actually measure it? Because if you just measure it based on how you are feeling, the problem is that is exactly the problem. Just as I was saying in the beginning of this video or earlier, if we are participating in our feelings and like that's self-interest, that's what's allowing the system as a whole to just participate in its own desires for more money. If you're just participating in your own desire for more positive feelings, what you don't realize is the only way to have a positive feeling is to first have a negative. That is how reality works. And you can pretend like that's not how it works. But the only reason you can pretend that is because if you have money, you don't have to experience the negative part. Because the negative part is someone else in some other country basically getting paid nothing, being a slave to produce the things that you are using, to participate in the system, to produce those things for others, which keep the system as a whole running so that you can take the part that you're taking from it, whether you're directly buying stuff that is made from a sweatshop or not. And you can say, well, I don't buy those products, I don't participate in it. But you're participating in the total system, of which that is a fundamental part, without which the system would not run. Because if it would run, and it would run more effectively without it, then it would happen that way. The system is automatically going to optimize itself according to what its starting point is. So you can see the starting point of the system based in the fact that there's so much suffering in this world, right? So while it is one thing to say, well, you just have to change yourself. Well, how do you measure that change? How do you measure it? How do you know that you're actually changing? And you're not just changing the way you feel, because the way you feel is not you. The way you feel is the byproduct of a system within you called the mind consciousness system. It's a system inside of you. And its primary purpose is to keep you focused on your own feelings so that you will never challenge the greater system, because that system within you is like a little miniature copy of the larger system. And that's all it is. And guess who put that there? Your parents. Your parents did that. Did they know that they were doing that? Probably not. But all they had to do was accept that system within themselves, live from that starting point, and then basically have you in their presence in the first 7 years of your life. And you automatically copied all of their patterns and everything that they did, which was from the starting point of participating in their mind as energy and trying to create experiences and all this shit. And so the patterns that you were doing, when they copied them, okay, that's great for you, Joanne. You're a great example. Now, what are you going to fucking do with your life? That you can't say you got off the hamster wheel because everyone else is still on it. So what are you going to do? Are you going to stand up with us? Are you going to make a difference? Right? And the fact that you're commenting on here is pretty cool, right? But it's not just about you. And you can't, and I'm not singling you out because I don't know everything that's going on within you, okay? But if anyone says, well, I've removed myself, I've made my life better, therefore everyone else can do the same. That's not how it fucking works. You're not being honest. That's not how it works. You have money. You have put yourself in a position to have money. The only way you're able to do that is for someone else to not have. And I know it's really hard to see that because you don't actually see it. But that's the way the system works. And the thing is, I'm not trying to convince you because you're only going to be willing to accept what you want to hear. So if your starting point is not to actually stand up in this world and make a difference, meaning, and when I say make a difference, this is the whole point of making this video. Make a difference can have a lot of different forms. Okay, so let me give you some examples that I see. And if you see other ones, point them out, make a comment, and then I will look at that and say, and I'll give you my assessment of whether it's actually a real solution or not. Okay, so I can give my perspective on it. Becoming a politician, where the entire purpose as a politician is to support the political system to move to a point where it is one man, one vote at all times, and where the solution is presented that the system is changed so that everybody has their basic needs met. Now, do I know in detail exactly the way that system will be created? No. Okay, I'm not claiming to know all of those details. But if enough of us were to really drop our egos and look at this as a primary point of importance, we could figure out all those details. Okay? But what we're going to have is a problem where we have a political system where we don't actually vote on real policies. We vote on politicians who either fulfill a policy promise or not. That's not how democracy should work. The closest thing probably that's ever existed to it, if this is even real, it could just be a bullshit story from history. But apparently they had a direct democracy system in Athens, in Greece, back in ancient Greece, ancient Athens. And yet they've done the research and everything and shown that the average IQ of that population was like 120 according to current day standards, right? There are very few people that are probably going to listen to this call that have an IQ of 120, right? How do I know that's true? Because I know how a bell curve works, okay? And that's at least a standard deviation. It's more than a standard deviation above average intelligence, okay? Most people are average intelligence. Most people right now in this world are too stupid to understand even the common sense of having their own basic needs met by a system. Yes, that is where we are at right now. Most people are too dumb to realize that having a system that makes sure everyone's needs are met without controlling or restricting anybody in terms of their freedom of expression, in terms of expressing what is best, their full potential. People are too dumb to realize that's in their own best interest, and they will argue for the system that exists. And then the other problem we have is that even the people who are intelligent and have money will argue for the system not to change because they're okay. They don't have to change. They're good. Everything is okay in their life. Okay, I could have done that, right? I went to an elite private school. I went to an elite university that probably none of you would have qualified to get into. I have an extremely high IQ. I know these things about myself, okay? I also know what my weaknesses are, and those are things that I continuously push myself within. However, even within all of the intelligence and opportunities that I've been given, I have realized that there are certain points within my life that are never going to work because we live in a system that is designed for as many people as possible to be slaves and as very few as possible to have a good life. So if you currently have a good life, know one thing: you are a motherfucking dishonest person. Now, does that mean you should go and just give up everything? Absolutely not. That would not be a solution, as I said before, because you can't live in this world without money. So what would be the best thing that you could do? To start looking at and removing all the points within you where you are justifying the way the system is currently and to utilize your position to stand up in this world and say, hey, everybody, we have more than enough for everyone. Why aren't we making sure everything is distributed so that everybody is taken care of? Everybody has what they need. So that, because do you understand that when a child doesn't get proper nutrition in the first 7 years of their life, it affects their brain development? So if you grew up in a impoverished situation, you didn't get all the right nutrients, your brain is never going to operate at the level of fucking Bill Gates. So don't tell me that anybody can just put themselves in that situation. It's not possible. Okay. And I know many people who are successful now in terms of money and so forth that were not in that good of a situation before. The problem is you will use that fact as a way to not change the system, not realizing that you got lucky. Instead, what you want to do is claim that it was a blessing from God and that you did it all by yourself so you can feel special. But let me put it this way. If the money system collapsed today, where would you be? And you might say, well, I've got all this land and cattle and plants and animals. Well, if the earth said, I'm not going to give you any more sunshine because you didn't make sure that what you have, everyone has equally. So I'm just not going to support you anymore. Do you understand? You're not doing this on your own. The earth and the sun are supporting us. That's our real mother and father, not God. God's not blessing you with jack shit. It's the earth, it's the sun. That's what's giving you everything up. If the sun said, I'm not going to shine today, we are all fucked. And so if the money system were just totally removed, everybody would die because we wouldn't even know how to interact with each other in a way where everybody would have what they need. The fact that you have what you need is because you have money, and the system therefore sends resources to you for what you need. And the amount of money you have will determine what you get. So this isn't about justifying the way things are. Like, if you're here to justify the way things are and that your life is fine, then there's really no value whatsoever for you to watch my videos or participate with me on Facebook whatsoever, because my only interest here is to get and find other people who are like, damn, we need to fucking stand up and do something that matters in this world. We need to do something. I need to do something with my life that when I'm gone and dead and I no longer exist, it actually made a difference. And it started in motion something that eventually this world will become heaven on earth, and that every child that's born will have exactly what they need. I mean, can you imagine if every child that was born was supported, where they didn't lose their innocent expression, and yet they were taught everything that they need to know, like about how reality works in its fundamental detail? Can you imagine like what we would create as a human race if every child was supported like that? It would be incredible. We can't even imagine it, because we can't even consider that you shouldn't hit children. Like that you shouldn't tell children about the fucking tooth fairy and Santa Claus, or lie to them about God, or that you shouldn't punish them, that you should instead be the example, and you should explain things in detail until they understand why to do what you're suggesting. That's what we do with Max. We explain everything to him. We never punish him. We never threaten him. In fact, there was one time where, I'm trying to look at what it was. It was a specific point where Max wanted to do something. I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't remember what it was at the moment, but there was something he wanted to do where it was like, I think it was like these bubbles or something, or it was something like where it was something that we got for him, where it was like he was wanting to use it for one purpose, which wasn't the intended purpose. And no, that wasn't what it was. If I can remember, I'll give you the details. But there was something where there was if he did this, it was going to create a consequence where he wouldn't have it anymore, or something like that. And I was explaining to him, look, if you do that, Max, then and it's gonna break or destroy whatever that thing is. We're not going to get another one, okay? Because that's the consequence. And Katie said to me, hold on, that's not the consequence. The consequence is that thing will be broken. And she pointed out to me, like, what you're doing is you're actually threatening. You're actually making a threat that, like, or it's a punishment. It's a form of punishment. Like if you're saying, if you break that in this way, because I was also saying, if we're playing with it otherwise and it breaks by accident, that's a different story. We can talk about it. But I was actually in that moment participating in that point. And when she pointed it out, I was like, yeah, you're right. That's a consequence I'm imposing on it. That's not him understanding. That's me actually in a subtle way threatening. And that's the only time I can recall doing that. And Katie was there and she said, look, that's not, does that make sense? And I was like, that doesn't actually make sense. So then we talked to Max about it, and I re-evaluated my starting point within it. You see what I'm saying? So I understand that I make mistakes, and I'm willing to correct them, right? And that doesn't make me special. It just means that's who I am. That's what I want to do. I want to be the very best I can. And I haven't defined very best as making the most money and being better than everybody else. Although what I realize is, if I want to make a difference in this world, if you want to make a difference in this world, you're not going to be able to do it if you're not in a position where you can actually have influence. So anybody who's listening to this, who's in a position where you have money and your life is good, I'm not judging you. But what I'm saying, I'm calling you to a higher purpose and saying, let's take what you have, let's take your position. Now, let's walk together and let me share with you what I know so that you can actually now do something that matters in this world. Do something that will make a real difference. Because as I said before, the fact that we have a world where most people are too stupid to realize that having a system that would be to everyone's benefit would be to everyone's benefit, like that basic common sense, that having your basic needs met and not having to fear for survival would create a better world, just as a starting point, that people are too dumb to realize that. There's a reason why, because we have a system of education that's deliberately dumbing people down. And parents are not really supporting their kids. They don't really understand what a child really is and how to support them in their first 7 years to be able to reason actually effectively without just imposing some system of control and imposing fear of survival into their child. They don't know how to do that. So let me give you a quick idea of how you could make a difference in this world and really make a difference. If you're not in a position where you have money, or if you are in a position where you have money, become a techno-tutor distributor. Here is why. Because we have the only tool that actually will support a child to retain their innocence and develop a superior ability to process information and a superior understanding as to how things work in this world. There's no other educational tool like this on the planet. And this is the only way to support a large number of human beings in as short a time as possible to develop the ability to process information. So enough people can become part of the 1%, but also have enough people develop their reasoning ability so that when someone like myself or like you stands in a position where they say, look, here's a new system that we're proposing. All we require is everyone to vote and agree and understand what we were proposing. Not just based on a promise, but like, here's the detail of it. Here's what we're agreeing to. And this is, if you vote on this, this is what will happen. And everyone can understand, enough people can understand it. The only way that's going to happen is if we change the education on this planet, because currently we're just basically getting kids to memorize a bunch of shit that they don't really need, so that we can filter out the people who are already intelligent based on genetics, the people who aren't, but the people who are intelligent in situation or in positions in the system where they'll keep the system in place and basically be the managers of over all the dumb people. That is the system that we have. That is not an effective system. Techno-tutor is the only way to equalize education on this planet. So, and how can you become wealthy doing that? Maybe you want to ask me about that, because we have a way to do that. It's just a matter of whether you think it's important to take the life that you've been given and do something that actually fundamentally matters and to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, or are you going to make excuses, right? Am I saying that techno-tutor, being a techno-tutor distributor, is the only way to make a difference in this world? No, that's not what I'm saying. Because what do we also need? We need people who are, let's say, lawyers, to be able to challenge the laws, like at the United Nations level, as to why aren't equal rights actually being honored? Why is it that we're giving lip service to them in the United Nations Declaration of Rights, but they're not actually being protected for everybody equally? Why is it that the laws demand that corporations always put profit above everything else? Like, these things need to be challenged. We need people like psychologists and counselors and stuff who actually understand how the mind works and are not just basing it off of what they read from a textbook from 200 fucking years ago, which was actually designed by the elite to control everybody. We need people who actually understand how things work to be able to support people, because more and more people are going to be going crazy. I mean, look at it, the school system. There's school shootings more and more and more and more, like all the time. That's not getting less, that's getting more. And the government's just using it as a reason to try to take rights from people instead of like, what's the actual solution? Educate your fucking children at home. Why are you sending them to basically an office every day? It's like you're sending them to a factory. You're sending them to a job every day. And the teachers don't even really want to be there. Go just on YouTube and look up like classroom, you know, like, I don't know, like terrible kid in the classroom, or I don't know, just go and look on YouTube at actual footage from people in classrooms, like children and teachers and stuff. And you'll see it's insane. Like, I know this one kid that I used to work with, and his parents knew about this. I told him about it, but the kid told me, he was in high school, and actually two different students who went to the same school told me about it. There was this teacher at this public school where they got fired because they had their computer hooked up to like the big screen projector, and when they turned on their computer, it started playing porn on the big screen in front of the whole class, boys and girls, in like a freshman high school class. So the teacher got fired. Well, they couldn't find a replacement for that teacher because it was, I don't know, some random like astronomy class or something. So they hired him back, and everybody knew about it. I'm like, what? Why would you even continue sending your child to that? Why would you put your kid in an environment where you don't even know if some kid's going to walk in and start blasting everybody? You don't know if something like that's going to happen where people, you know, like there's this, it's like, do you think the kids aren't like watching porn and talking to each other about all kinds of shit, like what they see on the internet? And like, you can't control all of that. And plus you have people from all different environments. Like, is that who you want influencing your children? And then you have all this other weird, crazy shit that's going on, which I won't even get into right now. It's just a whole nother fucking can of worms, right? It's time that we take responsibility for education. And if someone doesn't go and show people like, look, here's how you can do it, because the number one concern that I hear from parents when I'm talking to them initially is that they're like, I don't know how to educate my child, so I can't take them out of school, or I can't provide a supplement to what they're learning. Right. We do know how. So you can no longer say that you have any form of excuse, because the only reason that you'll have an excuse now is because you won't take the time to ask me, well, how does it actually work? Show me. Because I'm already showing you the evidence with Max. He has a 4 to 5 year old level vocabulary. We've already confirmed this. We've verified this. He has a 4 to 5 year old vocabulary level, and he's not even here. He's 2.5. He just turned 2.5 last month. He already knows more and can demonstrate it than the smartest kid in the average kindergarten class. He's already learned everything that he would learn in kindergarten and some of what he would learn in first grade. And he's not special. He's not special. He's just, we are taking the time and being specific with how we interact with him, how we parent him, and building his vocabulary and changing the nature of how we treat him as a human being, as a child who's innocent. Does that mean everything is automatically going to change in this world? No, it's going to take time. But at the end of the day, when you're lying in your deathbed, and when you feel your body leave, when you feel your soul leaving your body, what excuse are you going to have? Like, well, my life was good. And then you start looking down at the world and you start seeing everything going on. And then you start to see that what I said was true. Like, everything you were doing was actually contributing to and based upon, and you can see the exact details of how every benefit you had in your life was directly causing or required suffering of someone else. And then you see the children being raped, and like over here, and this children getting kidnapped in front of their parents right here, while you're sitting there like eating your Thanksgiving turkey dinner, and you're like, the happy warm feelings that I'm getting, yay, that's life. That is not life, because when you die, none of it will exist. And the real question is, will you even exist? Or will you just be this moment of looking back and seeing everything you did what came to nothing, when you could have made a difference, when you could have stood up and done something practical? Now, is every single detail of what I'm suggesting going to make sense just from what I said today? No, it's not. So it's an ongoing conversation. But if you see any potential within yourself where you're like, you know what, Cameron, you're right. My life has been a waste so far. I haven't actually done anything that matters. I've only ever been pursuing just feelings within myself, and I can see where the end of that, I can see where that's going. I'm never going to be satisfied. I want to shift my starting point. I want to stand up and make a difference in this world. And within that, I'm going to expand, and therefore I'm going to get a lot more than I have now because of that. I'm going to feel a lot better about myself because of that, because I'm actually making a measurable difference in this world. Because now I can see, I talked to this family, and this child who couldn't read 3 months ago is now able to read, and their self-esteem has just gone through the roof. And the parents are actually proud of their child. They're not feeling like they need to yell and be angry with their child because they don't know how to help them. And now there's all these families where they're improving, and the relationships between the parents and the children are improving, and the communication is improving, and the stress levels are going down. And even within the limited system we have, these people are putting themselves in better positions financially. And then within that, we start lifting up more and more people. And then we place ourselves, those of us who see the potential within ourselves, we place ourselves in a position of influence in the system, where we let go of all of our fears about standing out and speaking up for what's best. And we challenge all those fears within ourselves. And then we start saying, this is what's best. Everybody, you should agree. And if you don't agree, let me explain more. But everyone should agree on what's best. We have to stop this whole bullshit of like everyone has the right to their opinion. You wouldn't agree with that if it was somebody trying to convince your child to have their opinion. And as soon as your child has a different opinion of you as a parent, what do you say? Is it okay if your child has their own opinion at all times, no matter what it is? Do you really agree with that? Or do you just say that because someone challenges your opinion? You don't really know why you fucking believe what you believe. So you're like, let's just agree to disagree. So I don't have to really face these negative feelings within myself and this friction that I'm experiencing, which is actually just cognitive dissonance. Let go of your opinions. Find out what's actually real. Because that's the only way we're ever going to sort out what's going on in this world, is if we actually become honest about what's really going on in this world. Otherwise, we're just playing a game in our heads. And guess what? That game is playing you. Because the game is the only thing that exists when you die, just in somebody else. And in the big system. And it just copies itself into another person. It just uses us, our human physical bodies, as slaves to just perpetuate that little, basically, computer program. That's not real. It's not who we are. None of your beliefs are real. None of your thoughts are real. None of your emotions are real. None of your feelings are real. None of your memories are real. Even your memories, you have nitpicked and cherry-picked, rather, from reality, the parts that you want to create an idea and a belief and a experience and a memory within yourself that just reinforces some limited belief that you have. It's not even real, because you didn't even take in the totality of what was going on when you created the memory. It's time for us to wake up and to realize that our education levels in this world are so fucked that there is, unless we change that, there's no way we'll ever create a better system. So what if we could start having an impact in that, start equalizing education, and within that, if you so choose, place yourself in a position where you can make a difference in the bigger system, but you've prepared the way before you with many people who can then say, I see the common sense in what you're presenting. I mean, that is a real practical solution. Are there more details to it? Obviously. But it all starts with you making the decision to say, I want to make a real difference in this world. I want to stand up. I don't necessarily know all the details, but as someone famously said, go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll see further. So if you see any kind of potential within what I'm suggesting, just send me a private message. We'll have more conversation. All right. If you have questions that you just want to place here for now, because you don't want to send me a message, that's okay. Just place them in the comments. Right. If you found this video supportive, share it so that I can reach more people. Okay. And now I have a meeting to get ready for in just a few minutes. So I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.